Good morning and welcome to AM Agenda. Coming up, we're going to look at a messy week for the Liberal Party and where it leaves Malcolm Turnbull and Peter Costello. We'll also be taking a look at Afghanistan as Australia's Defence Minister holds talks with his NATO counterparts on the prospect of sending more troops to the region. And the government's planned industrial relations changes. In fact, we'll start with these. The Australian Industry Group, the business group considered to be closest to the Rudd government, has taken the gloves off in its submission to a parliamentary inquiry into the Fair Work Australia changes. Australian Industry Group Chief Executive Heather Ridout calls the planned laws unworkable and says they will put jobs at risk in these troubled economic times. Well, joining us now for a look at this and the rest of the morning's political news, the Liberal member for Ryan in Queensland, Michael Johnson, and the Labor member for Dobell in New South Wales, Craig Thompson. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining us. And Craig, I want to start with you. The world certainly changed with the global economic crisis, and we've seen the government as a result throw the surplus out the window. It's changed superannuation rules, it's changed the forecast for unemployment, of course. Surely these industrial relations changes also need to be reconsidered in the light of all that's happened.
Well, look, we had a firm agenda that we took to the last election. I think all Australians pretty much made it very clear that the work choices legislation was unbalanced and unfair, and we had our policy of forward with fairness. Now, that's what we're implementing.
That's the point Heather Ridout, though, makes, is that the election campaign is one thing. You should be focusing on the global financial crisis now, the reality now, not the conditions back then in 2007.
Well, look, I think all Australian workers would agree that now is not the time to increase insecurity in people's employment, and that's why we're putting forward a balanced package, one that we've been equally criticised by the unions as well as the employers. I don't know if
where have you been criticised by the unions?
Well, the unions have raised issues about being able to do industry bargaining and pattern bargaining and those sorts of things, and they've raised a number of concerns.
That's the employers' concerns. So the unions surely aren't worried about pattern bargaining.
No. They're saying that they should be able to do more industry bargaining across a range of employers within a particular industry, and they think that the legislation should be strengthened there. I mean, we've had numerous submissions from both unions and employers, and while we're obviously listening to this Senate process, we're making sure that we're having proper consultation in terms of this important legislation.
Yes, but you can't honestly say you're facing equal criticism from unions and business. I mean, come on, the business groups are outraged at these. They say they're unworkable. The unions are happy with the changes that are being made.
Well, David, the situation, I think, is that Australians want to make sure that they have security at their workplace, and in tough economic times, more than any other time, security at the workplace is paramount. That's what they voted for in the last election, and that's what we're committed to delivering.
All right, well, just answer me this. There are 7 areas of concern that the Australian Industry Group has, but one of them, why should a union be able to enter a workplace and have a look at the employment records of a non-union member?
Well, look, we've put forward our proposal in relation to workplace laws, and we're determined that we're going to bring back balance to the workplace. This is a balanced package that goes to a range of issues across the relationship between an employer and employee.
I'm just after this specific issue. Why should a union official be able to look at the employment records of a non-union member?
Well, unions for a long time have played a crucial role in ensuring that workers, both union and non-union, aren't being exploited at the workplace, and some of these measures go to those particular concerns. But this legislation isn't really about increasing union power. This is about making sure there's a proper balance, that people get a fair go at the workplace, and David, that's what they voted for in the last election, overwhelmingly.
Michael Johnson, let's bring you in here. The opposition has also been fairly muted in its criticism of this. Are you scared of another fight over industrial relations?
David, good morning. Look, I think Craig's been very unsuccessful in trying to defend his position. Heather Ridout deserves a gold medal for some courage and for some character on this occasion.
Are we seeing that from the opposition as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we raised this in the Parliament back in November. We did say that the Labor Party had a mandate from the people, so we didn't stand in the way of their bill, but we also raised some very, very significant concerns about the overreach of this bill. the overkill of this bill. They did not have the mandate to do exactly as you've said, to allow union officials to go onto the workplace and to look at books, to look at records. I mean, this is just indefensible and untenable.
So you will vote against this?
Look, I mean, we're raising the concerns that we raised again back in November. The bottom line is that the Australia Industry Group, Heather Ridout in particular, who certainly in the last 12 months has been no friend of the opposition, has raised some very significant concerns.
David, once what we're hearing is once the party of work choices, always the party of work choices.
Well, just to clarify, just to clarify that, Michael Johnson, I mean, you've pointed to Heather Ridout's comments there, fair enough, but what are you going to do? As a Liberal MP, you have a vote on this. What are you going to do?
Well, certainly what I'm going to do is stand up for the interests of small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and we will be very much on their side. We will be saying to the government, look, in this current climate where clearly unemployment is going to go up, you cannot have a situation where employers are faced with union influence, with union intrusion into their workplace that makes job security, as Craig says, the most important thing, untenable. You cannot have that continue.
So why can't you say that you're going to vote against this? Come on, just say it.
Well, what's the situation that we're looking at? We're looking at supporting the government's position or going against Heather Ridout. I mean, the bottom line is that they had a mandate at the last election. We acknowledge that. The Howard government was defeated largely because of a very deceptive Rudd campaign, and we respect the mandate of the people. At the same time, we said very clearly this bill is overreach, this bill is overkill. It's going way beyond the mandate that was given to them, and it's very disappointing.
David,
it still sounds pretty slippery there, though, Michael Johnson.
Well,
I mean, if you're so opposed to this, but you're so worried about being seen to be still in favour of work choices, is that what's going on here? You just can't tell us which way you're going to vote on this? Well,
the position is, David, that the government was elected by the people on largely the basis of a work choices scare campaign. We've got to respect the mandate of the people. Malcolm Turnbull said that work choices was dead, and so we respect that. But that doesn't mean that we can't point out the major flaws in the legislation of the government. And there are clearly some terrible flaws in this legislation which will harm the prospects of Australians in the workplace.
David.
All right. Well, I want to move on, if we can, to emissions trading, because this is another area where there seems to be a whole lot of confusion as to what's happening with Australia's fight against global warming. The government, of course, late last year put out its white paper on a carbon pollution reduction scheme, very detailed plan of what it intends to do. But now it's asked a parliamentary committee to look at whether an emissions trading scheme is, in fact, the best way to go at all. And, Craig, I know you are chairing this committee. So tell us, is it a foregone conclusion that your committee will just say, yes, an emissions trading scheme is the way to go?
Well, look,